Alright, welcome back everyone, and today what I have for everyone is my full review of the iPhone XR. So I've been using this bad boy for almost a month, and I feel like I've gathered all my thoughts and opinions on it, and we're going to talk about it here today in this full review. Alright, now I am Mr. Super Clumsy, so I'm going to keep this bad boy inside of the case that I got for it. But if y'all want to see what this bad boy looks like outside of the case, check out my unboxing of the device and check out my full case review. I'll link up all my coverage on this device down below in the video description. But for protection purposes, we're going to review this bad boy inside the case. But that being said, I've been using this bad boy for almost a month, and let's break it down. Let me give you my thoughts and opinions on it. Let's jump straight in to the full review. All right. Now, starting off with the overall build quality and design, the iPhone XR is built out of aluminum and glass. So we have glass on the front and back. It's an LCD display on the front, and it's tempered glass on the back. Right? And then we have an aluminum side rail. And I gotta tell y'all, taking this bad boy out of the box for the first time and holding it in my hands with no case on it, it actually felt very, very nice. Very, very slippery, but very, very nice. Okay? So the overall build quality, in my opinion, is top notch, and Apple did a great job. And the overall design, in my opinion, is very, very nice as well. One of the things that I like about the XR in particular is the fact that it came in a variety of different colors. You had black, you had blue, you had orange, you had yellow, you had red, a variety of different colors, as opposed to the standard iPhone X, which came in like gold, space gray, black, and I think there was a silver. I definitely like the colors and design of the iPhone XR way better than I do the standard 10 or the XS. Alright, so in terms of the build quality and design for the iPhone XR, I feel as though Apple did a great job. It's top notch in my overall opinion, but it is a slippery beast no matter what, so I do recommend you case up. Okay, especially because these iPhone devices are not cheap. So you definitely want to case up to protect your investment. All right, but the overall build quality and design on this one is top notch in my opinion. Okay, moving on, let's talk about this display. Now up front, dead center here, we have a 6.1 inch 720p display. Now I do believe it has some type of awkward resolution to it, to where it's like 828 by 1726, some awkward number like that, but it has a screen density of 326 pixels per inch, and that resolution is so funky. It's just a 720p display, y'all, and that's IPS LCD. Okay, but that being said, sure, this was the one iPhone X that didn't have an OLED display. It didn't have a Super AMOLED display. It just had a regular LCD display. And to be honest with y'all, this display is really, really good. Really good. Now, outdoors, in direct sunlight, I do have to crank that brightness up to be able to see it. But indoors, I'd say I rock it right about here, and it's perfect. And if you turn on True Tone, it will automatically shift for you once the phone sensors detect that you're in a more light environment or a darker environment. It will shift the display colors for you. Kind of like auto brightness, but I don't like auto brightness, so y'all know I turned that bad boy off. Alright? Turn that Bluetooth off too. Alright, now, moving on though, this display, in my opinion, is top notch. Day-to-day performance with the display has been top notch, and I haven't had any issues. So the overall screen and or display on the iPhone XR, in my opinion, is top notch. Alright, now moving on, let's dive a little bit deeper into the hardware and then talk about the software and my overall experience with this device right here. Did that all rhyme? Hashtag bars. Now, talking about the hardware-wise, this was the only iPhone, okay, I believe after this, the iPhone XS had 4 gigs of RAM, but this iPhone right here, an iPhone 10, had 3 gigs of RAM, and they came in either 364, 128, or 256 gigs of onboard storage variants. Okay, there is no type of external expansion when we talk about iPhone devices. Okay, so what you get is what you get. Now they do supplement that by giving you iCloud storage, and I think to start with they give you 5 gigs free. But once you fill up that 5 gigs, then you gotta pay either $2.99 for 10 gigs, I think it's $2.99 for 10 gigs, $5.99 for 20 gigs, or $9.99 for 2 terabytes. Okay, and the phone is set up to where it will automatically offload your storage to your iCloud, or it will automatically make a backup of your device and offload it to the iCloud. So if you don't want to use up all of your iCloud storage, I recommend you dive into the settings and you turn that off. If not, it will fill up quickly and it will be prompting you to update your iCloud storage. But I turned all that off. I'm really good with managing the onboard storage. And this particular model right here, my bad y'all, Shaky Cam Productions, is a 364 gigabyte variant of the device. Okay, so this bad boy has 3 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of onboard storage. No micro SD card expansion slot. Now, this bad boy does come with wireless charging, my bad y'all, I can't talk today, it's been a long day and it's only lunchtime. Okay, but this bad boy does come with wireless charging at, I believe, 11 watts. Okay, we do have a 12 megapixel camera on the rear, which can record all the way up to 4K 60 and do 720p and 1080p slow motion at 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second, depending on the resolution that you choose. Okay, then we have a 7 megapixel camera up front to go along with all our Face ID sensors. Okay, and I gotta say, the Face ID on here is fast. And I do really appreciate the fact that you can use Face ID to authenticate with everything on your iOS device. Alright, and even in darker environments, it still works as long as you don't have anything covering your face. So, gotta say, the Face ID, good stuff. Apple did a great job with that. But we do have a 7 megapixel camera on the front, which can only record in up to 1080p at 60 FPS. Okay? Other than that, we do have glass on the back, glass on the front. It does have waterproofing. IP67 waterproofing is built on here. And then all your standard smartphone stuff is here. Okay? But that essentially goes over the hardware. Now, it does have your standard iOS device slider toggle. So you can mute it, you can vibrate it, or you can turn on the sound. Okay? And it does come with stereo speakers. So that's one speaker built into the receiver up here and one bottom firing speaker. I'm going to give y'all a speaker test a little bit later on in the video, but that officially goes over all of the hardware. Now, hardware-wise, it's not the best. And talking about the internals, we are rocking an older Apple processor in the Apple A12. But in terms of raw horsepower, that A12 definitely does the job. But hardware-wise, it's not the best with 3 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. But that being said, talking about the software experience in the day-to-day, Apple has gotten so good with optimization that this bad boy, even with 3 gigs of RAM and a ton of applications open in the background, this bad boy still flies, okay? And it only has 3 gigs of RAM. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. So even though the hardware is not the best, it still performs flawlessly in terms of the software and day-to-day performance. And these cameras, spoiler alert, these are some really, really good cameras. I'm going to talk about it more a little bit later on. But hardware-wise, it's okay to good. Software-wise, it is top-notch. And we are running the latest iOS software on here in iOS 15.2. And I got to tell you, this software is kind of limiting, but it gets the job done. If you're the type of person that likes a minimalist, straightforward, functionalist type of device, then you may want to definitely look into iOS and their lineup of devices, or Apple and their lineup of devices, because that's pretty much what it is. Minimalist, functionalist, it gets the job done and it stays out of your way and it delivers the horsepower when you need it. Okay? So overall software on here, top notch. Overall hardware, just okay to good in my opinion. Alright? Now, moving on, let's now talk about the overall Wi-Fi performance. Now, Wi-Fi wise, this bad boy is packing AC Wi-Fi, so 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz band Wi-Fi is on here, and the Wi-Fi performance, in my opinion, has been phenomenal. Now, let me pull up a YouTube video, and this is also going to double as a speaker test. So let me max out the volume. Okay, let's max this out. And we're going to let it play for a little bit. Then we're going to scrub through the video to check the performance. And then I'm going to give y'all my overall opinions on the Wi-Fi and the speakers and the overall speaker placement. But y'all going to see for yourselves. This is pretty much flawless. But let's push play and give y'all that demonstration. Let's go. Alright, let's scrub through the video now. Jump forward. Jump forward. Jump backwards. Jump backwards. Okay. Y'all get the idea. So, in terms of the overall Wi-Fi, y'all, it is top notch. I haven't had any issues. In terms of the overall speakers, speaker performance, and placement, first of all, I do appreciate the fact that Apple threw in some stereo speakers on this one. So we do have one bottom firing and one front firing one. But these speakers are unbalanced, in my opinion, based on what I'm hearing. And they definitely could get a little bit louder. Now, they don't really distort at max volume, at least not to my ears. But they're definitely unbalanced, and they definitely can get a little bit louder. So you definitely may want to invest in a pair of Bluetooth earbuds. All right, most definitely. And I'm not a fan of the placement. I really wish they would have put in dual front firing speakers, but it is what it is. So overall performance for the speakers is just okay to good. Overall performance for the Wi-Fi is top notch. Top notch indeed. All right, so now let's move on and talk about the overall LTE and the band coverage on this device. Now, this is the US globally unlocked variant, or the US unlocked variant. So let me pull up the bands here. So What does that mean? That means that we have all the bands for all the major carriers in the US, and we have all the bands for all the GSM carriers in the US. So any carrier I want to take this device to, it's going to work. All right. Now, there is a caveat to that. Let me show y'all the bands one more time. Boom. Let me show y'all the models. Boom. But there is a caveat to that. Now, mainstream carriers, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, all gonna work, no problem, right? Subcarriers, you're gonna have some issues with some subcarriers. Now, you definitely want to do your research when we talk about subcarriers, because there may be additional things you may have to do to get your iPhone device working on your subcarriers. Me, myself in particular, when I dropped my Straight Talk Verizon SIM in here, it just worked no problem. Data worked, LTE worked, phone calls worked, text messages worked, video calls worked, no problems. But when I dropped my Free Up Mobile AT&T SIM in here, my calls and my text was working, but my data wasn't working, right? And let me show you how to fix that. And this was kind of a head scratcher because I spent like hours trying to fix it. And then I was going to call customer service for Free Up Mobile. And then I was like, let me just take a deep dive through the website and see what I can find, right? But if you have a subcarrier and it doesn't register on your iOS device right away, you may have to do this. So the first thing you want to do is jump into the settings, okay? Then you want to scroll to the top, and you just want to start typing VPNs, all right? Then you want to find this option right here that says VPN and device management. Tap on that, okay? Then you want to go to the website for your subcarrier, okay, and see if they have a configuration profile that you have to download on your iOS device. And the only way for you to do that is with your SIM in and it connected to Wi-Fi. Then you go to your subcarrier's website and you download their profile. That's the only way that I got my Free Up Mobile AT&T SIM to work. And let me just show y'all, I also was able to get all the other profiles for Free Up Mobile in here. Okay, so let me just show y'all this. We're going to show y'all some cheat codes here today. So this is the standard APN that I use for Free Up Mobile. This right here. Pro Data. Then I save it. I usually label it as Free Up Mobile AT&T. Save it and it works. Okay, so any GSM unlocked phone, that's all I always do. Put in that Pro Data APN, label it Free Up Mobile AT&T, and it works. But here is all the other APNs for Free Up Mobile. So you can see that one right there, that one right there, this one right here, and that's all of them. All right? So if you're having the same issue that I had, where your SIM is in, the device is unlocked, but the data is not working, go on the carrier's website and see if they have a profile that you have to download. Because that's what I had to do to get my Free Up Mobile AT&T SIM working, right? So I just wanted to point that tip out here in the full review. This is unlocked and it will work across all the carriers, but you may have to go find the profile for your specific carrier in order to get the data working. All right? But no issues other than that. No issues with Straight Talk Verizon. No issues with the data or the coverage. Once I got that profile figured out, the device has been working flawlessly. Okay? So in terms of LTE and supported bands, this one has all of them and you should be good to go. All right? Moving on now, let's talk about Bluetooth and overall Bluetooth performance. Okay? Now, in terms of Bluetooth, we got Bluetooth 5.0 on this device right here. And I gotta tell y'all, the overall Bluetooth performance has been phenomenal. So here is everything that I connected up to the iPhone XR, and I haven't had any issues. No issues whatsoever. But I did notice that with iOS, it needs to connect up everything separately. Okay, so you can see it made my Buds Plus cut into two. It made my Buds Live cut into two, and it has my Smart Band as one. But if you have earbuds, it's most likely going to break it in two if its Bluetooth 5 earbuds are higher. Okay, but other than that, the overall Bluetooth performance on the iPhone XR has been phenomenal. Just keep that in mind. All right, that it's going to have two instances of all of your earbuds in the Bluetooth settings. And sometimes it may connect, but it might not connect to the main one that it needs to. So you may need to toggle off and on your Bluetooth in order to get the Bluetooth to connect on your iOS device. But Bluetooth performance on the iPhone XR has been top notch, and I haven't had any issues. Okay, moving on. Up next, let's talk about the GPS performance. Turn-by-turn navigation, geocaching, geotagging, all top-notch, haven't had any issues. Especially turn-by-turn, no issues whatsoever. But I will say this. I was using Apple Maps and Google Maps side by side, and I'm more part and partial to Google Maps. It just is what it is. So I went ahead and uninstalled Apple Maps, and we got Google Maps up front and center. That's another thing that I like about the iOS devices. Anything that you don't use, you can just uninstall. That's it. It's a beautiful thing. So a bunch of standard iOS applications that I don't use, I had them in this folder to start with, but I was like, oh, I could uninstall them. I just uninstalled them. So I pretty much Googleified my iOS device, and it's working flawlessly. And I gotta say, applications on the iOS App Store, yeah boy, head and shoulders better than the applications that we get on the Google Play Store. I don't like that. But those applications are fire, and they work flawlessly. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff there indeed. So turn-by-turn navigation, geocaching, geotagging, no issues. No issues whatsoever. Bluetooth, no issues. Wi-Fi, no issues. LTE coverage, no issues. And again, I tested this on FreeUp Mobile, AT&T, and Straight Talk Verizon, no issues. So one GSM carrier and one CDMA carrier. No issues. All right, moving on now. Let's talk about call quality and speaker call quality on this device. Now, calls through the onboard receiver, they're kind of quiet. It's clear and it's audible, but it's kind of quiet. Okay? And I have not dropped this device at all in my time with it, and it's been in the case pretty much all its life. But those receiver calls, they're quiet. The speaker calls, however, the speaker calls are good. Nice, crisp, clear, and loud. No issues with the speaker calls. But the receiver calls, they could bump up the volume a little bit. All right? And talking about overall coverage while taking phone calls, it was good. I didn't have any issues. Okay? But granted, I have the two best carriers in the state that I'm in. So Verizon and AT&T in my state are the best two carriers. So I wasn't expecting to have any issues with coverage. But that's one thing that you want to keep in mind. Your overall call quality, speaker call quality, and call quality in general may vary depending on your carrier and your carrier's coverage. Okay? But for me, calls were really good. Receiver calls, kind of quiet. Speaker calls, top notch. They get the job done. All right, moving on now, let's talk about these cameras. Let's do this. Now, one thing that I want y'all to keep in mind is here in the full review, I'm just talking about my overall experience with the cameras. If you want a deep dive look into the cameras, including all of my photo and video samples that I've taken with this device, please check out my camera walkthrough or my camera review. I went over everything there is to go over with the cameras, and I shared all of my opinions, all my photo, and all of my video samples. I'll link that up down below in the video description for y'all to check out. Please remember, all feedback is greatly appreciated. So go check that video out and let me know your opinions. Let me know your thoughts. Just keep it respectful, please. Keep in mind, we're all entitled to our own opinions, and we can always feel free to disagree, and we got to be able to do so respectfully. All right? But talking about my overall experience with the iPhone XR cameras, it was phenomenal. Okay? Phenomenal. If I had to put it akin to anything, I would have to say the photo experience was akin to a pixel experience. 9 times out of 10, when I snapped the shot, I got the shot that I wanted on the first time. First try. One and done. Okay? So, talking about the photo performance, it's top notch. And what am I comparing that to? I'm comparing that to the pixel experience. Because that's the best camera experience that I had prior to using an iOS device like this. I was rocking that Pixel as one of my main daily drivers. And then even still, while I was reviewing this device, my other daily driver alongside this one was the Samsung Galaxy S10e. And I gotta tell you, these cameras are comparable. Very, very comparable. Very good camera performance on either device. Okay, and that's talking main sensors, because the iPhone XR only has one 12 megapixel camera on the rear, whereas the S10e has 2, and the iPhone XR only has one camera on the front, 7 megapixels, where the S10e has a 10 megapixel sensor. But the camera performance on either of these devices is phenomenal, and I'm going to enjoy keeping these two devices as my daily drivers moving forward. And this is why I made these two devices the standard or the benchmark for performance in general when we talk about smartphones on the channel moving forward. But the overall camera experience for photos was top notch with the iPhone XR, whether I was using the rear-facing camera or the front-facing 7 megapixel camera, no issues whatsoever. And like I said, for photos, 9 times out of 10, I was getting the shot that I wanted on the first try. So good stuff there indeed. Now, jumping over to video. Again, just more of the same. Really good overall video with the iPhone XR's cameras, and that's regardless of whether I was using the front or the rear-facing cameras. Okay? Now, jumping over to the last category that I judge cameras on, audio capture capabilities. This is where I would have to say the iPhone XR fell a little bit short. Now, it does have directional microphones, so if you're directly in front of it or directly behind it, the audio is going to be good. But if you get too far away, you're going to notice a noticeable dip in the overall audio that the device is able to capture. So when we talk about overall audio capture capabilities for the iPhone XR, I'm going to have to say it's just okay. It gets the job done. Now, if you stay directly in front of the device or directly behind the device, you're going to get good audio. But if you get a certain distance away, the audio is not going to be the best. Okay? So the audio capture capabilities for the iPhone XR, in my opinion, is just okay to good. Alright? But that pretty much goes over my overall camera experience. On the whole, overall, I have to say these cameras are really good. Video quality, really good. Photo quality, top notch. Audio quality, okay. Alright? Now let's keep it moving. Up next now, let's talk about my experience with gaming on this device. Now, I gotta tell y'all, I have the full dedicated gaming video up on the channel. I'll have it linked up down below in the video description. I even brought back one of the older games that I haven't played in a while. But the gaming performance on this device was phenomenal. Okay? It was phenomenal. And I didn't have any issues. No issues whatsoever. And I threw everything at this bad boy. Okay? We played first-person shooters. We played swipers. Phenomenal. And it worked flawlessly. Now, it did heat up a little bit, but the performance never dipped. Okay? So, overall gaming on the iOS device, phenomenal. Check out the gaming video if you would like to know more. Alright? Now, moving on, let's move into one of my all-time favorite categories, or in my opinion, the all-time most important category, aside from the price. Let's talk about the overall battery life and the overall charge times. Now, one thing I want y'all to remember here is that in terms of battery life, there's a few key factors that you have to keep in mind. Okay? One is the overall battery size. This bad boy has a 2942 milliamp hour battery, some type of strange number. Two is the display technology. Again, IPS LCD. 3 is the resolution, and 4 is what you're going to be doing on the device. Keep in mind, everybody's results vary because we all use our devices differently. But those are some key factors that directly affect your battery life. That being said, talking about my overall experience with the battery life on this device, it has been phenomenal here. Let me pull it up here for y'all. Okay, now I did factory reset the device one time, so it doesn't have all my stats on file, but y'all can see I'm getting through a full day, no problems, and I'm averaging about 9 hours. Okay, and when I say no problems, I'm getting to the end of the day with about like 15, maybe 10% left. And y'all know that's where I like to charge my devices anyway, 15, 10, or 20%. So the fact that I'm getting through the whole day and I don't have to worry about it, and I'm ending up with 15, 20, or 10%, that's some really good battery life in my overall opinion. Okay? And then, just talking about some individual days here, I was actually able to get some phenomenal battery life when we talk about the individual days. Okay? When we step away from the average, I think on multiple days, I was easily able to get over 10 hours of screen on time. Okay? And if I had to average it, my average would be a little bit higher than what the device says. I think my average would be about 9 to 10 hours of screen on time, whereas the device is averaging me at just below 9. I would say I'm averaging about 9 to 10 hours, which is really good battery life in my overall opinion, if you ask me. Okay? So, the battery life on the iPhone XR, in my opinion, is really, really good, if not top notch. Okay? And I really do like how Apple chose to break it down inside of their battery and how they display it. Because you can see just how long I spent in any app that I launched. Okay? So really good stuff there. And I like their graphs too. So good stuff there indeed. So overall battery life, phenomenal to top notch. Now, overall charge times, this is where this device kind of takes a hit. Now I'm going to throw out some tips for y'all to get the fastest charge times on your iOS device without hindering your device or limiting your device too much. Number 1, okay, you want to turn off True Tone, okay, and you want to drop your device's brightness to about 35 or 50%. Number 2, you want to turn off Bluetooth, right? And then you want to go into your settings and turn off location. Okay? Location is in settings underneath privacy. Right? You want to go in here, make sure location services is turned off. Then after that, when you plug in your device to charge it, you're going to get some really good charging speeds. With those tips that I just told y'all, I'm charging up the device in about an hour and 45 minutes to just under 2 hours. Before I used those tips, the device was charging up in about 2 to 2.5 hours. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, ew. That was some horrible battery life. But after I implemented those tips, an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, it's not great, but it still gets the job done. Alright? So if there was any one downside to the iPhone XR that I definitely experienced, it has to be the charge times. And the same rules apply for charging wirelessly. Now wirelessly, it charges at about, I don't want to say 15 watts. I want to say like 11 watts. And on average, it took me about 2.5 to 3.5 hours to reach a full charge, right? And again, I had to implement those tips. So Bluetooth off, location off, and turning my brightness down. That's how I get the absolute fastest charge times, whether I'm charging wirelessly or wired. Alright? Now some of my friends with iOS devices, they talk about putting it into airplane mode, turning on do not disturb, all that good stuff. But for me, getting my notifications, my phone calls, my messages, my studio notifications is very important. You guys and gals know I try to answer all questions in a timely fashion because I hate waiting, and I know you guys hate waiting too. So although I could have gotten faster charging by turning on do not disturb and airplane mode and all that good stuff, and even turning on power saving mode, we ain't doing that. I'm not hindering my device more than I have to get fast charge times out of it. Okay? So everything was done without battery power saving mode on. Okay? And I just used those tips that I pointed out earlier. Okay? So we didn't turn on airplane mode. We didn't turn on do not disturb. We didn't do anything crazy to try and get super fast charging out of it over wireless charging or wire charging. We just did those 3 little tips. So brightness between 35 and 50%, Bluetooth off, location off. Alright? And as I said, the weak point of the device is definitely charging wired. Okay? Charging wirelessly, that's what I was expecting, 2.5 to 3.5 hours. It's an iPhone. They don't charge fast. It's an iPhone. Wasn't expecting it to. But the overall battery life was pleasantly surprising in my opinion. Alright? Now, moving on, this brings us to the final part of the video. Let's talk pricing, let's talk overall availability, and let's get into my final thoughts and overall recommendations. Alright? Now, in terms of pricing, for everything y'all see in this video, it ran me a little bit over $370. Let me pull up my calculator to give y'all the absolute correct pricing. Alright, so the device after taxes came up to $362.73. Okay, and the case after taxes came up to $10.90. So the grand total for everything that I picked up was $373.63. Okay? And in my opinion, that is a really great price for an iOS device. Alright? That being said, right now today, you can actually find your iPhone XR for about $250 to about $350, depending on where you look and whether you're picking it up in used, new condition, or refurbished. Now this is a refurbished unit, and I'll be sure to throw up the screenshot receipt so y'all know exactly how much I paid for this, because I know some of y'all don't trust my calculating skills. And also that receipt will highlight the seller that I got it from on Amazon, and I can definitely recommend that seller. Okay? But for that price, just over $370, can I recommend that y'all pick this up? I would have to say yes. Okay? If you've been rocking with, Android for forever, and you want to see how the other side lives, okay, and you want a cheap entry point into Apple's ecosystem, then the iPhone XR is definitely the way to go. You can find the iPhone XR in max variants for super cheap. And again, this comes in 364, 3128, or 3256. Okay? And I'll have the most up-to-date pricing linked up in the affiliate links down below. But that being said, for that price range of $250 to $350, if not even a little bit over that, can I recommend that y'all pick this up? I would have to say yes. And y'all know me, this fell within the channel budget allotment, so I was very happy to see that I could pick this device up for that price. Y'all know we do $280 to $380, so we came in just under the channel budget for this one. Alright, now for the all-important answer to the all-important question. Am I going to be keeping this device? Okay? A month of usage. Am I going to be keeping it? Is it going to be my permanent daily driver? What am I going to be doing with it? Well, if I'm being 100% honest with y'all, and if you checked out the update video before I brought this device in, y'all know I really wanted an iPhone XS. But I decided to pick this up because I was able to get it for a lot cheaper price than the iPhone XS. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give this away to a really good friend of mine. I'm going to let her see how the other side lives. Okay? And we're going to pick up the iPhone XS, the 128 gigabyte variant, because that's the variant of the S10e that I have, 128 gigabytes. And we're going to rock out with the iPhone XS and the S10e as the primary channel benchmarks for the channel. Alright, so those will be my main daily drivers. But I just had to pick this up because y'all know me. It's all about battery life and solid performance. And a lot of people were saying, well, if battery life is important to you, then the iPhone XR is definitely what you want to pick up. You're still getting great cameras. You're still getting a nice display. You're getting the overall iOS experience. And you're getting the best possible battery life. Alright? But I still have to stick to what I said. I promised y'all I was bringing in an iPhone XS. I'm going to do my best to bring in that iPhone XS. Alright? So am I going to be keeping the iPhone XR? No, I am not. Okay? My friend is going to get a very nice surprise when I drop this one on her. I think she's going to like it. Alright? But that being said, this brings to a close my overall coverage on the iPhone XR. Once again, can I recommend that y'all pick it up? Yes. Okay? Especially if you want to see how Apple does with their ecosystem and their software. Why not? Why not? We're in the time today that everybody should experience everything at least once. Okay? You can't talk about something if you don't experience it. Okay? And there's only so much you can see by looking from the outside in. So you need to get as much experience as possible. Okay? So why not pick up an iOS device? Why not take it for a spin? Why not see how the other side lives? You can't be diehard Android forever. Just like you can't be diehard Pixel forever. Okay? Okay? The most well-rounded people are people that aren't afraid to experience things. So I would challenge y'all, that everybody that watches this video today, before you start showering me with all the hate, okay? Respect my opinion and go ahead and try it, man. See how the other side lives, man. It's not always Pixel everything. It's not always Samsung everything. It's not always Motorola everything. It's not always Apple everything. You know, expand your horizons. Okay? Gain some experiences. Gain some new viewpoints. Okay? A new point of view always does anybody good. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Anyways, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video. I hope you guys and gals found it helpful. If you did, you know what to do. All the affiliated links will be linked up down below. And those are affiliated, so I do get a small percentage of kickback for that I do put back into the channel so I can continue to bring you guys and gals content and no additional cost to you guys and gals. Alright? Hope you guys and gals are staying safe. Y'all know what to do if y'all want to see more. Y'all know what to do if y'all enjoyed the video. Have a good one, everybody. We are out of here. Peace.